It's Saturday the 19th of October. We're just going to take you for a little walk through these woods where we're hoping to find some puccini mushrooms, also called Sepps or penny buns. We'll try and tell a little bit about where you might hope to find them, what they look like, how to identify them, and perhaps what else mushroom wise you might find while you're out here walking. When you're looking at a big woodland like this, the question is, where do you go to find the mushrooms? The most difficult question. This area is huge. How are we going to find them? Well, quite often the answer is easier than you think, and it's to stick to the main path, because that's where the mushrooms will be. So why do you look in ditches and at the side of footpaths? Well, people think that mushrooms, the individual mushrooms they see, are plants themselves, or that's the whole organism, but it's not. The organism itself stretches perhaps hundreds of meters underground, and what you see are just the actual fruits of that organism coming out. And it will be growing underground quite happily, but quite often what happens is, if it gets to somewhere like a ditch or a footpath, that's impeding the growth of the organism. So it starts to worry, and it starts to think about, should I be producing fruits to spread my seeds to get over this ditch, to get over the footpath, to move myself onto new areas. So ditches, the sides of footpaths are really often worth exploring. And here's a nice example. Here's this little ditch running alongside the footpath, and we go into it and have a look here. And what are we seeing? Oh yes, beautiful Sepps. 1, 2, 3 in a row.
So this is the top of the Sepp, or the puccini, or the penny bun, and underneath you can see, in a young specimen like this, it's got this beautiful white sort of sponginess underneath, so it's really solid, dense pores.
Now this is a Sepp again, but it's a much older specimen. You can see it's sort of flattened out a bit on the top, and when we pick him, he's heavy. Underneath he isn't that white firm sort of sponge that Pam showed you on the young Sepp. This has gone sort of green. It doesn't look very tasty, and in fact probably not a good idea to eat it, but it doesn't mean it's gone off or anything. The mushroom itself is fine. This I tend to pull it off in the woods and distribute it, because it's full of the spores, which are the equivalent of the seeds of the mushroom. And if you distribute that, hopefully you might get some fresh growth around where you found it. This is also actually quite a good specimen for seeing the stem of the mushroom, that sort of mottled stem. But here we are again, the classic bun shape top of this Sepp. Sponge at the bottom, as you can see, mottled stem. He's a nice specimen. By the side of the path again. Here we are. Oh, and what have we got here?
While we're busy looking at the Sepps, we've managed to miss these. Hiding in the leaf litter. And these are wonderful winter chanterelle. And there's a massive patch of them. They're going all around. Very tasty, very nice, very easy mushroom to identify once you've seen them.
And the thing is, they're hard to spot at first, but once you find one, just look around you and they're liable to be everywhere in the leaf litter. This is the winter chanterelle that you'll often find in absolute abundance. Quite often you see the little hollow bit in the middle of it. The most telltale thing is looking underneath. And unlike the normal mushrooms you buy in shops which have gills, this is full of little ridges. That's how you can tell it's a chanterelle. A winter chanterelle. Here we are just by the main path again, and looking off to the side, see a flash of white in the woods. And that is cauliflower fungi, and that's absolutely delicious. It doesn't look great, I know, but just try it fried in butter on some toast. Now this baby, this is the fly Agaric, which is poisonous and actually used as a hallucinogenic drug, so we really don't want to eat that one. But it tends to like similar ground to tastier mushrooms like the Sepp. So if you see some of these, look around because you might have a treat nearby. That's the bottom of the bolete I just found. It's a lurid bolete. Turns bright blue. The flesh turns bright blue when you cut it. And the sponge beneath is orange. What a dark, sort of suede-y cap to it.
This is one of the easiest mushrooms for beginners. It doesn't look much interesting from the top, although it's got quite a distinctive colour to it. When you turn it upside down, you can see it's got these spikes that just come off in your hand. And it's called a hedgehog mushroom, and it's quite tasty.
End of the day, we've had better hauls than this, but that's not bad. Cauliflower mushroom. Cauliflower fungi rather, and we have mostly Sepps with lurid boletes, a little bit of hedgehog, chanterelle and a couple of winter chanterelle, but mostly Sepps.